I first thought about leaving on an ordinary morning while chopping vegetables in the kitchen. My children, Liam and Sophie, played quietly in the next room. My husband David had already left for work. The house was calm, but I felt a heaviness I couldn't name. I'm Emily, 36 years old, married for 12 years with 2 children I love more than anything. They were my reason to smile each day, and they were also the reason I stayed. David wasn't the man I imagined marrying, but he was kind at first. He made me laugh and talked about building a happy family. I believed him. We married when I was 24, thinking love would be enough. Everything changed after Liam was born. David grew distant and stopped helping with the baby. When Sophie arrived, I hoped things would improve, but instead the gap between us widened. He became impatient and critical, saying I never did enough, even though I cooked, cleaned, and cared for the children constantly. His words became weapons. He would say the house was always messy or ask what I did all day. Eventually, he began insulting me in front of our children, telling Liam not to grow up weak like his mother. That night, I cried alone in the bathroom. David never hit me, but his silence cut deeper than any shout. He would leave rooms when I entered and eat dinner without speaking. I waited for him to look at me with love again, but he never did. I stayed because I wanted the children to have both parents and feel safe. I told myself David might change if I tried harder. I smiled when I didn't want to, made birthday cakes, helped with homework, and played games on the floor. But slowly I was disappearing. I stopped seeing friends because I was ashamed of what I couldn't fix. One day, Sophie drew our family at school and gave me a picture showing me with a sad face. Later that night, I stared at it and cried because even my children could see the truth. Liam once asked why his father didn't talk to me much. I told him David was tired from work, but I knew that wasn't the real answer. The truth was, David didn't respect me anymore, and I had spent years trying to earn something I should have already had. I thought about leaving many times. I looked at apartments online and searched for jobs. I even saved money secretly. But fear always pulled me back. What would happen to the children? Would they suffer more living in 2 homes? Would I manage alone? David never asked if I was happy. He only noticed when dinner was late or laundry undone. I was invisible unless something was wrong. Looking back, I realize I taught my children that love looks like silence and that mothers should hide their pain to keep peace. One evening, I watched them playing together, laughing and building towers, and wondered what kind of future I was creating. Would Sophie think it's normal for men to ignore women? Would Liam believe this is how husbands should behave? That thought terrified me. That night I sat outside after everyone slept, looking at the stars and feeling small. But for the first time in years, I also felt hope. Maybe I didn't have to stay forever. I didn't pack a bag or write a goodbye letter. But I made a promise to myself that I would unforget who I was or let this life erase me. I would stay for now, but not forever. Weeks passed, and I started reclaiming small pieces of myself. I began walking each morning, bought a plant for the window, and borrowed books from the library. When I saw a help wanted sign at a local shop, I took the job. David barely reacted when I told him, but I didn't need his approval anymore. Working gave me confidence. When Liam's school asked a parent to speak on Career Day, he wanted me to come. Standing in his classroom talking about my work, I saw myself through his eyes as someone doing her best, not someone broken. I started planning carefully. I looked at apartments during breaks and researched schools nearby. I found a small 2-bedroom place near the children's school with good light and a balcony. It would be available in April, giving me 3 months to save more money and prepare. I began talking to the children about how families can live in different homes and still love each other. They listened quietly, processing the information. In March, I called the landlord and said I wanted the apartment. That evening, I asked David if we could talk. I told him calmly I had found a place and would move out with the children in April. He could visit them whenever he wanted. He didn't shout or argue. He simply said fine and walked away. I stood in the hallway feeling like I had finally opened a door. ID kept locked too long. I sat down with Liam and Sophie and explained we were moving to a new place close to their school where they could still see their father. Sophie hugged me. Liam asked quietly if we would all be okay. I looked into his eyes and promised we would be. We moved in early April. The apartment was small but filled with morning sunlight. We brought our books, toys, and simple belongings, and slowly it became home. Some days were hard, and the children asked difficult questions. Sometimes I cried when they couldn't see me, but I never doubted my choice. I hadn't left because I stopped caring. I left because I finally understood that love shouldn't hurt, that silence isn't safety, and that children learn from everything we do. I stayed for the children, but I also left for them so they could see what real love looks like. So they could learn that respect isn't optional, and so they could know that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is begin again. In that small apartment on quiet evenings, with my children sleeping peacefully in the next room, I finally began again.